Hi guys, thanks for coming for our panel. Today we will discuss advertising in hyper and hybrid casual games, trends and overview. And let me shortly introduce ourselves. So I'm Ivan, industry expert, gaming and subscriptions EMEA. Here next to me is Yolanda, client growth director, Nativex. And İhsan, Apple Search Ads client partner from MobileAction, and Naz, business development manager, AppLovin. So let's start with introduction, short introduction of ourselves. So as per myself, as I mentioned, I'm industry expert in gaming at Appsflyer. Previously, I was mostly on client side. So overall, I have 14 years of experience in digital marketing. And last 8 years, I work in mobile marketing. Such companies like Wargaming, when we formed first mobile marketing team, and Verve, where I was a CMO and gathered the marketing team from scratch with achieving outstanding results and like achieving 100 million downloads in a couple of years. And then CMO at Nanobit, where actually we grew up 3 times during a couple of years and reached also really great results. Thank you. Passing the word to you, Yolanda.
Thank you, Ivan. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you here. So I'm Yolanda from Nativex. Personally, I started off my career like 13 years ago with an online marketing role for a games company. And then afterwards, I've always been, taking up UA roles and on the other side, sales roles or, account management roles from advertising firms as well. So it's always been like really relevant to advertising for games. So Nativex is a global advertising agency that we were working with different sort of inventories ranging from global social platforms like we say TikTok, Google, Facebook, Snapchat, to local ones. Let's say, for example, Line in Japan, KakaoTalk in Korea, there's Kwai in Brazil and Indonesia. And then, of course, there's, even ByteDance or Tencent in China, for example. So we work to provide our clients the best media mix in terms of user acquisition for their games.
Thanks, Yolanda. So hello, everyone. Welcome again. So I'm İhsan. I'm working at MobileAction, and I've been in client management and account management for 5 years. And after joining MobileAction like 2 years ago, I'm in the mobile industry. So just to briefly talk about the MobileAction. So we have both an intelligence platform and also Apple Search Ads management platform. So with the Apple Search Ads side, so we are Apple's direct, let's say, the partner. And in terms of the revenue, we're generating on our dashboard. So we are one of Apple's biggest partner on Apple Search Ads. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Naz. I'm a business development manager at AppLovin. I have worked in the mobile gaming and just startup industry for over a decade. And I have experience working in the Silicon Valley, Europe, and Turkey, mostly in growth and business intelligence. For those of you who are not familiar, AppLovin is a leading growth platform for developers to maximize their revenue. It's a 36-degree full-stack platform, a solution for monetization, user acquisition, and measurement.
Thank you, Naz. Guys, let's start with definitions. What's hybrid casual games? What's hybrid casual games? Because that's kind of new in the market. And what's maybe evolution from hyper to hybrid? Naz, maybe you can tell a couple of words?
Sure thing. We're all familiar with hyper-casual games now they've been around a long time. They're basically simplified games with a single core mechanic. They're easy to play, easy to learn the ropes. It takes, you learn how to play these games within a matter of seconds. And they scale quickly and they have a global appeal. The major problem with hyper-casual games is the relatively low retention. And hyper-casual developers over the last year or so have been striving to extend the lives of these players, improve the retention. And they have done so by adding some extra features to these games. And now we refer to this new type of gaming as hybrid casual. It's not a strict definition. It really changes from game to game. But basically, hybrid is an evolution from hyper-casual. And it's hyper-casual. You take the simple hyper-casual game mechanic and then add extra features that you'd normally associate with casual or mid-core games. So what kind of extra features are we looking at here? They could be competition, adding a competition aspect to the game. For instance, leaderboards, tournaments, and then a lot of hybrid games also choose to add a social aspect to it. So you could be playing against or teaming up with your friends. And in some of these games, we see a strong narrative, a storyline that makes the app more interesting for the players, as well as a strong meta play where users collect items or build a home, for instance, using the earnings from their progression in the game they're playing. So all these things spice up the hyper-casual game. And the main advantage here is that the app is acquiring users at the relatively low CPIs that hyper-casual games acquire at, yet monetize them as casual games or mid-core games. So in the end, these apps are still easy to pick up and learn, still attract a wide audience. They're not only attracting the hyper-casual audience, but also players of casual gaming. And it's sort of the best of both worlds. And also, as for the monetization part, it's also hybrid a lot of times, like the game's name suggests. As you know, hyper-casual mostly monetizes through ad revenue. Whereas hybrid casual games monetize with both ad revenue as well as in-app purchase revenue. The split is really, there's no specific rule to it. It really depends on the game. And developers work here to find the most profitable, optimal split for their game. So this is an exciting time for us because we're seeing many new games. They're a mix of genres, but at the same time, they're easy to play. And on AppLovin, we see more and more of these games lately, and I'll tell more about it later on. But it enables us to use a bigger set of tools, and just gives us more room to play, to acquire users and monetize them.
Thank you very much, Naz, for such a rich answer. Guys, would you like to add something? Okay, let's move on. What do you think about audience for hyper-casual and hybrid casual games? Maybe we can elaborate a little bit on this, if you'd like.
Yeah, I think in terms of the the targeting, the audience pretty much the same. So you're targeting the same age range. In terms of the ones, eventually you're targeting the players, right? So that's why I think.
Ihsan, sorry, can you put your mic closer to?
All right, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the the hybrid and also like the hyper casual. Eventually, we're targeting the same position, the same target. We're focusing on the same market, but the way that we are targeting is really different here. So rather than maybe just focusing on the dynamics of the app. So, for the hyper casuals, it's more about showing the game itself. But when it comes to hybrid, for example, even if we're targeting the same audience, the way that we are targeting is way different. So, for example, like Naz said, the teaming up is something we see for the hybrid. So rather than focusing just the game mechanics, I think we are now see that people are, the publishers are basically focusing more onto the, the other differentiating items with the gameplay. I think all in all, in a short answer, the audience is pretty much the same.
Yeah, thank you, Ihsan. Naz, would you like to add something?
Actually, I was thinking later on, maybe I can elaborate on the kinds of campaigns that we can use to target these somewhat different audiences. But
right,
yeah,
that's a good idea. Yeah,
okay.
Let's do it later.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Ihsan just elaborated. I just want to add a few more words from the advertising perspective. So, of course, if you look at hyper casual audience and hybrid casual audience in a whole, like in a group, it's not essentially different, right? We are all targeting the gamers as a big group, but as Naz just explained, there are still a lot of, there's no single definition of what is hybrid game. Like hybrid game could be, let's say, with a hyper casual core of the gameplay that really ensures the market, to ensure the marketability of the game itself. But it could come in combination with a hybrid, for example, gameplay. Right, it could be a match 3 together with the growing pass. It could be a match 3 together with home decor. It could be some sort of hyper casual core play together with RPG element. Right, so for each of this, either we call it subgenres or we call it for each different gameplay. Of course, we are still looking at, a narrower audience, I would say, from the marketing targeting perspective, from the ads targeting perspective. The audience is narrower. The acquisition cost might be higher, but then it still ensures a better return because of the hybrid nature of the game. So that's one part. And the other part, talking about audience, if we really talk about hyper casual games, it has the beauty, of course, that it's really, involves everybody in, like everybody could be playing. And I would say, just my personal opinion is that the population is still growing. It still continues extends to the conventional non-gamers, like those people who didn't have any access to games, for example. Yeah, so the audience is still growing. Of course, hybrid is the trend now. Everybody's talking about it, but personally, I don't think that's the the end for hyper casual either. There's just different.
Yeah, thank you, Yolanda. I think speaking in general terms, these are the pop games which a lot of people play, and to make a successful hyper casual game or hybrid casual game, you have to please like wider range of audience, like to make them play it. Because these kind of games needs a lot of traffic, like million downloads in order to be profitable. So that's quite a wide audience we need to catch and we need to please. So yeah, let's speak about some stats and insights, maybe some evolutions and changes before and after COVID. Yolanda, maybe you can elaborate a little bit.
That's a really good question. After COVID, as many of us may have already observed that there is a stress now. How do we make the games profitable? Or, not talking about as profitable as before, but at least, make it positive. And that's also the reason that's the stress basically is they're driving a lot of game developers shifting towards a hybrid type of monetization to basically increase the ROIs. So from my perspective, Well, I guess later on, Isan, Naz, they can, add on from the game development perspective. But from an advertising perspective, that what we are seeing is that we are striving to make two ways, right? On one way of the business model is that we try to help our clients to figure out how to continue lower down the acquisition cost for the games. Right? So if, like, say, let's hold the constant at revenue first, then we need to decrease the cost. And in terms of how to decrease the cost, it needs to be like either from the perspective of, if it's not working on iOS, are we looking at Android? If it's not working on tier 1 countries, are we looking at Brazil or Indonesia or other emerging markets, or even China, the closed ecosystem, right? If it's not working on this platform, which on one specific platform that the cost is increasing, is there anything new in the market that are trying to gain market shares as a social platform or as an advertising platform that we can just jump on and make sure that we grab the opportunity of the window to make sure that we decrease the cost? Right? That's one side. And of course, creative can be added on to it. We are going to go into more details to that later. And then that's the cost side. But the other side is how do we increase the revenue, right? Like with the whole economic situation, how do we increase the revenue? I mean, of course, from the gameplay perspective, there's a lot of things to be done. That's why we are shifting to hybrid. We're adding IAPs, or there's more solutions on monetization. And on the other side, like what we as advertising partners, what we could influence is that would there be a platform, for example, in any specific region that we could help you extend the lifespan of the existing titles, the existing hyper-casual titles? The answer would be yes. But it's just that those are the kind of informations that we try to bring together, like put together for the industry so we can together make this happen.
So, to be honest, I think not only the COVID's effects are, seen in the market, but also recession. This recession is something affecting the market as well. And eventually, there's another effect called ATT. The Apple's the privacy settings are also affecting the market. So initially, especially with the COVID, people were more engaged with the devices. People like to, play the games and some other stuff. So people had real much time. And also the costs were very reasonable. So, for example, in terms of the LTVs, even 7 cents was something, important and was bringing value and eventually ending up with, profit. But right now, the CPAs are pretty high, especially with the ATT. And also in terms of the creative side, we have some inside solution for the ad intelligence. And we see that games companies are more tend to focus on, solid creatives. So rather than publishing tons of creatives in, different channels, we see that they're more like, publishing a few creatives, but focusing on this. And also the A/B testing is something we see that highly utilized nowadays, because normally, eventually, because the costs were pretty reasonable, and this in terms of the CPI, even 10 cents was something reasonable and seen in the market. But right now, the costs are pretty high. That's why they're basically the competitive advantage is really important here. So you're watching your competitors, you're seeing how they're basically creating the creatives, and based on their methodology or the way that they're, presenting their games, or let's say the mechanics, they're just taking a look at and then taking actions. But before, we saw that, they were just basically drawing up anything and everything. It could be video or Interstellar, whatever you say, and they were just starting the A/B testing without even looking at their competitors. But since after the pandemic and also with the recession, costs are increasing, I think A/B testing is way more important compared to the pre-COVID times.
Speaking of creatives, maybe I can touch upon the best practices for creatives in hyper-casual versus hybrid casual and the similarities as well. Basically, hyper-casual with creatives on AppLovin, we've found that the best performing option, the safest option, if you will, is having the video in 2 orientations plus an end card. And this end card would typically be a single click end card. So, you know, just the regular play now button would usually do it. However, with hybrid casual, we see that, again, the video plus the end card combination works very well. However, the end card you're using here is usually stronger if you have a multiple click end card. For example, you know, it could be an exact resemblance of the gameplay itself, where, you know, you just have them play a snippet from the game. And this ensures that when this particular user downloads the app, they're getting exactly what they had in mind when they clicked on the ad itself. So I'd say that's the major difference there. And also in hybrid, we've found that having a storyline really helps make the creative more interesting, whereas in hyper-casual, storylines don't really have a major effect on the creative. Usually, you know, more straightforward parts, footages from the game helps. But regardless of the genre of the game, we always, again, based on best practices, based on what we see on the platform, like Ihsan said, we always recommend A/B testing. In the case of AppLovin, it's easy because you don't have to do anything manual. It's just a matter of adding new creatives every couple of weeks and even more frequent, if possible, with hyper-casual. And the platform runs the testing for you automatically and moves forward with the best performing creative. But the most important thing to do is to iterate on what performs best by looking at the metrics and, you know, just keep testing rigorously.
Thank you very much, Naz, for elaborating topic about creatives. I think that's one of the most important topic here on this panel, because I truly believe as a marketer previously that's like 90% of success is creative, and it's good creative. So like many companies work hard on having a lot of people in creative departments in order to create new ideas, create new videos which would work, because yeah, it's extremely important here. So I think we can elaborate on this topic with Yolanda and Ihsan. In the meantime, I would ask organizers to put on the screen our presentation, if that's possible. Guys, can you please put on presentation on the screen? We'd like to show you a couple of slides later. And maybe Yolanda can tell a couple of words about formats and attractive messages.
Yeah, of course. Let's wait a little bit for the slides.
Can we also have a clicker to change the slides? It's probably there.
Okay, so while Ivan's helping us check the presentation. Oh, perfect. So yeah, while this is being sorted out here, so I'll just add a few more words to what Naz and Ihsan just explained to us. indeed, there's differences between, best practices of creative designs for hyper-casual games versus hybrid casual games. And the beauty is actually with hybrid casual games, since we are talking about a longer life cycle, a higher ROI probably as well, hopefully as well, then we will have more freedom in terms of what kind of channels we could tap on for user acquisition, and what kind of creatives are usually working better in this channel than the other ones. Or we could have more freedom on, not purely creatives that's like not purely screen editing to the animation creatives created for the gameplay itself, but a little bit more with, for example, actors, like sitcoms, with the storytelling, with twists, basically to create a more emotional feeling with the audience who are looking at the creatives. So we actually, yes. So we were hoping to show you some examples of, the creative ideas, like that there's storytelling in it, there's a twist in it. There's, for example, something is starting with the setting that, a lady is being dumped because of low power in a game, and then how the twist is going. I know this sounds like, a little bit naive if I really describe like this. This kind of things doesn't really happen in real life. We are not going to say, hey, I'm coming for a revenge just because my grade is going up in a game. But surprisingly, you would see those kind of creatives and those kind of storytellings works really well when we talk about user acquisitions, right? So that's, too bad we couldn't really show it. But the other part is that apart from the messaging that we try to reach out to the audience, localization is another part that I really want to mention and voice up for. So localization is not only, or it's not at all just, make your ad copy into another language, or add some subtitles of your little drama for example, in Japanese, and say think this is going to work. It's not going to. For a lot of times, for the same game, same idea, the creative approaches could be completely different. Like the examples I was originally going to share is that for a game, a Cinderella kind of storytelling works very well, for example, in the Western markets, in tier 1 countries. But in Japan, the best working one was, for example, a murder scene. Well, those of you who are interested can come to me after the panel. I can probably show you offline. But it's actually the setup of a murder scene. And the whole bunch of people dressed up in black suits, they are trying to figure out what happened, who's the murderer, and then it's actually a game scene. So that's about localization as well.
Yeah, when I was working in Nanobit, actually we called this process not only localization but culturalization. Yeah, because it's mostly like it. So you not only localize the text, but you also change the characters, change the scenes, because to make it closer to the audience, to the Chinese market, to the Japanese, as you mentioned. Exactly.
In the way of storytelling and in the way of the local culture, the most trendy, the buzzwords in the local culture as well. The trends, the latest TV shows there. What are your potential audience are most likely talking about? Right. Thank you very much. Ihsan, would you add up something to creatives and then messaging and how to make a good creative?
Yeah, exactly. I will be talking about the topic in detail on the competitive analysis part, but just to briefly mention, localization is the killer here. Because the audience is really different, and in some cases, for some countries, a specific color can be, evoking the emotions in the the user. So eventually, with the creative side, we have two goals. One is creating a brand awareness, and secondly, you should evoke emotions so that you can get download. that's why localization is really important here. And of course, while we're talking about localization, it's not just translating the the items or the text in the creative. So you should be finding new maybe colors, or you should be maybe focusing some other stuff. For example, let's say in the United States, maybe we can say that the color black can be very popular when it comes to the creatives, but for Japan, maybe white is really important. Or same for the the dimensions, or like for some countries, horizontal creatives are really evoking the emotions, but for some countries, vertical is important. So in the end of the day, so you should watch your competitors to see eventually if also you would like to maybe let's say operate in new countries. So it's also important to find new places that you're planning to expand for.
Thank you, Ihsan. Naz, you already contributed to the topic, but maybe you have something to that.
Sorry, just a few more words. We also found that in hybrid casual, localization plays an important role, especially for China, Korea, and Japan. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to talk now about the trends, market trends regarding ATT and attribution, all genres combined. So before this panel, I had solo speech with this presentation regarding the trends. So I would like to show a couple of slides how it went during last couple of few years. So regarding iOS casual and hyper casual also, there were a lot of more rumors and fears that ATT negatively impact the market and the volumes will drop, and or should we shift it to Android and so on. But actually that never happened, at least 12 months after ATT. So the blue line is pre-ATT 12 months. The green one is post-ATT, which met plus 14% year-on-year growth. And the purple one is current year from May, and we can see it declining, but mostly not because of ATT, because it was like more than a year ago, but mostly because of the cost of living costs and a current recession. So especially you can see it in September and October, when advertisers cut the budgets drastically in order to be aligned with new normality. So actually that was never happened. We stayed with the same volumes after ATT, but how did casual and hyper casual games manage to do that? Because of course there were some changes. And here's the answer. Budgets were shifted from SRNs. So the blue line is SRNs, the pink one is ad networks, and the purple one below is are DSPs. So, well, even before ATT, most of casual and hyper casual companies abandoned Facebook and Google, most of SRNs, and switched to ad networks, which were more cheaper actually. So, and they had also probabilistic, which Facebook and Google didn't have. So that's how casual and hyper casual games sustain growth. And yeah, I think that's a great slide which shows us really nice trends and what happened on the market during a couple of years. And this is about scan adoption during the period of implementing scans. So of course, in the beginning, there was less scan and more MMP traffic from what we can see in our databases. But in October 2021, they aligned actually, and the scan was the same one-to-one to MMP traffic, which is probabilistic plus consented users. So most of companies in October 2021 figure out how scan works actually and used it for their works. And the same for Android. Actually, there were a lot of fears that most of budgets from iOS will shift to Android, but that never happened. Check it here, the green line. When ATT came, actually, Android didn't meet any any increase. So whole budget stayed in iOS, or most of budget, and Android didn't gain from this situation, at least for casual and hyper-casual genres. But when Facebook implemented their user level restrictions in November 2021, we can see declining starting from beginning of purple line. And actually, when recession started in May 2021, we can see it clearly here. We can see even bigger drop for Android. So, like as per ATT, that was a myth, and Android didn't grow thanks to ATT. And here is some distribution between channels for Android. So most of it was SRNs and social, but they lose some ground in favor of ad networks and DSPs. So some key takeaways from this is recession brings stronger influence and feels stronger last month. That's what we definitely see. And ATT led to casual shifting budgets and shifting budgets to video networks. And video networks came out on top eventually. And Android didn't see much of impact from ATT. I guess that's it from my side as per trends, but maybe Ihsan can elaborate a little bit on the topic. No?
Yeah, I will. So I think ATT is really important here. So, while talking about the trends in the market, ATT is the killer. It's simply because, when we see the trends in the market, initially we see that people or the publishers were, spending or, adjusting their budget more onto the Google side. And eventually, when we see the last quarters, we see that they're turning back to Apple side. So it shows us that people now know how to focus on to, the targeting. Normally, we were allowed to target at any point. So you can even, choose a single person, target them directly. You would know, all the details about a user. But with the ATT, and Apple says, by the way, almost 80% of all users are LA2 off. So means that, people are not really willing to share their specific data. That's why I think while talking about the market, ATT is important. And we know that, even if we're not allowed to do, narrow targeting, but somehow we're able to find the right users anyway. Yes, the cost increased, but I think it's not only about the ATT. The current market conditions are also really important here. And also, especially with the Apple search ads, we see that the costs are decreasing there as well. So apparently, with the ATT, in terms of the cost, yes, the other channels are maybe a little bit more costly, but when it comes to Apple search ads, especially with the new ad placement and also the ad variants, also known as the the CPPs, the market is evolving more into creative side. So normally Apple search ads was just only about the the keywords level ad spending, but with the ATT and also after the ad variants or the custom product pages, we see that they're also evolving the marketing to the creative side. Yes, it's not like the the traditional marketing, but still you can target your audience with different variants of creatives in the App Store. So that's my comment for the trends in the market.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Ihsan.
Yep.
Naz, would you like to add something as per trends? Okay, let's move forward. As we have your piece of presentation here, Ihsan, you can move on actually and tell us a little bit about that one.
Exactly. So just let me allow the presentation on the device as well. Yeah. So yeah. So we are at the introduction part. So I already introduced the MobileAction, but just to remind again, MobileAction was founded in 2013, and 2 years later we introduced the App Intelligence and ASO Intelligence suites, and almost 3 years later, with Market Intelligence and the Ad Intelligence, we became a full marketing insight platform. And after that, almost a year later, we introduced Search Ads Management platform, and less than a year, we became Apple's official partner. So yeah, you can see a few of our clients and different genres, but for the games, I think you can see that, we have some really good friends in the market from different genres. Yeah, so I will be talking more about the competitive analysis in this part. And, before starting, I think it's really important to understand the process here. So when a client, when we meet clients, when we had the onboarding meetings, that's the first slide I showed them. So eventually, you should be ready for the market. You should understand the market in the pre-order, pre-production process. You should understand the audience. You should understand the competitors, how they're behaving, in which markets they're, bidding or, marketing aggressively, or let's say in which markets they're localizing the items. And on the production side, you will be, not only focusing the paid channels, but also watching the performance or organically is important here. So even if you have some, good metrics on the paid channels, if it's not, affecting the organic side, means that if the algorithm is not on your side, even with the good marketing, there's a problem there. Of course, you should focus both organic and the paid channel at the same time. It wasn't the case for the hyper casuals. So when it comes to hyper casual, simply because the games were living in the market for, let's say, 6 to maybe at most a year, it does not make sense to focus more on to the organic side, because organic side takes really much time. You should do a lot of testing. You should find the right keywords. First start with the keywords, then continue with the creative optimization or the conversion rate optimization. That's why, because the process was longer, for the hyper casuals, ASO was not important. But when it comes to hybrid, ASO is killer as well. So you should be finding the right keywords while focusing on the marketing channels, paid channels. Also, you should be watching your organic performance. And finally, with your findings in the market, you should be A/B testing your items and make the iterations based on the resolutions or the solutions. So, next slide, please. Yeah. All right, thanks. Why it's important? Because if you check your competitors, you will see your weakness or strength. So, and also you will see, the difference that they're making. For example, for you, maybe the dynamics are really important, the gameplay is really important, but if your competitors are focusing more onto the other side, like, for the hybrid teaming up or the events or, whatever you say, so if they're making these kind of arrangements, then it's a good signal for you to copy that. But when it comes to copying, it doesn't mean that you should directly get the creative and put your campaigns. You should copy the idea and make some arrangements based on your unique idea. So yeah, sorry. So eventually, when it comes to the ads part, you should definitely need a tool. And in the tools, you will be able to see the networks your competitors are focusing on. You will basically choose any of the channels, any of the let's say the country, and you will see in which countries they are running for ads in which networks. You will have some idea about the network specifically. And similarly, you will have a huge gallery on creative channels. For example, in MobileAction, we have over 40 million creatives, and we are adding almost 30,000 new creatives on a daily basis. So there's no way you can, follow the trend in the market. You can get all these creatives together and follow with your teams. That's why the tool is really important here. And also the impression is really important. So when it comes to creatives, of course, you need to understand the best creative in the market. So when it comes to understanding best creative, you should be able to see some metrics. And, you know, when it comes to creatives, the impression score is really important. And yeah, achieving a winning strategy. So let's say that we have a, casual app. So, and let's say I would like to, focus more onto the growth part, and I would like to conduct a good strategy, UA strategy. And to do this, first of all, I would like to start with analysis on ad intelligence. So let's say I have to check the top advertisers in the category to understand who is dominating the market. If they're dominating the market, means that they are basically, shaping the trends in the market. And also campaign metrics of your app is really important. So let's say if the UA metrics are not that much, bringing value, then it's a good sign for you to go over your strategy again. It may be because of the UA strategy, but also because of the product. So you should be both watching the product and also the strategy. And of course, when it comes to huge gallery, you should have some filtering options. So you should always make analysis and, one by one. So let's say you should check the creative trends in Facebook separately and, Google AdMob separately, or let's say AppLovin, so that you can understand in which networks the trends are, going where, and, where you are at the, let's say, in the market when it comes to your competitors. Next slide, please. Not this one. Yeah, I think that's one. So for the top advertisers, so like I said, it's really important to understand the genre here. So when you choose any of the ad networks, you should basically find some keywords. Let's say that if my app is about, running, so you should put running into the filter, and that way you will see all the creatives related to the keyword. And also same for the ad wise. So you should be knowing your competitors directly. And to get your competitors to enhance your competitors' gallery, you should also be focusing on the organic side. And if there is any really important keyword for you, it may be even your brand name, you should check your listed campaigns, so listed apps on your brand name, so that you can understand who is going after your app. Or let's say for the Apple search ads, if you're running, if not even for the keywords, if there are any player bidding for a specific keyword, means that they see some value there. And you can find some kind of insights to find the best apps and the best creatives. And of course, the creatives filtering is not only about the the keyword filter or the app, but it's a good point to start with. And top chart is also the other important point. So understanding the the big players in the market is key for you to find the best solution for your marketing efforts. So if they're focusing on specific networks, so let's say that I would like to check the top 10 apps dominating the market, I can basically see which kind of networks they are utilizing in which localization, so that you can understand that let's say you can find a starting point. Or let's say if you're not sure about any of the networks, let's say that I would like to utilize AppLovin, but I'm not sure. So I can just basically check the top ones, and if they're utilizing, which is a big if, you can basically decide on the networks specifically. So another. Yeah. So it's also really important to understand the creative distribution over the ad network. So for example, on MobileAction platform, you can apply the filter by creative so that you can see the total distribution of creatives, but also do the same for the impressions. So it will allow you to understand which networks is really important for your competitors, or even the distribution of the DSPs are important. So, you know, for the DSP distribution is also important. So there are some ad networks you're, you know, investing in, but there are other companies coming and, you know, using their inventory. You see some success there, but if there is any DSP bringing the success, you will have some kind of idea here. And similarly, not only for the creative wise, but seeing the impressions is really important. So let's say that if any of the app is mostly utilizing in terms of the creatives, they're mostly focusing on the traditional channels, let's say like the Facebook native, or let's say the other meta platforms. So, but when it comes to the impressions, if you see that they are not getting most of the impressions, you will have some idea that, you know, okay, in terms of the number of creatives, they're mostly utilizing these channels, but when it comes to the budget allocation, apparently they're focusing more other channels. So it's a good way for you as well. So you can, you know, it's also important to decide on the ad networks, but also it's really important when it comes to budget allocation. All right, so
yeah, I think that's mostly it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's all from my side. Yeah, eventually, like that, the creative part is really important. And also when it comes to the creative, I think talking about the Apple Search Ads is another topic, because initially I was talking about the ATT, you know, I was talking about the CPP side. So Apple is really, you know, focusing on the creative side, and they already started their business on the ad variation part. So normally Apple was more working with the ASO side, but with the new ad placement, with the new kind of the variations, we see that the creative is something new for the Apple channel as well. Of course, it's not a good strategy to, you know, copy and paste the same strategy with the traditional ads, but also eventually you will get some idea about the market. So while we're talking about the localization, you will understand the specific locals. For example, for the Japan is interesting market for us. So normally, you know, vertical screenshots are pretty popular all over the globe, but when it comes to Japan, verticals, but horizontals are, you know, also really important. Or you will see that, you know, even with changing the places of the ad creatives, you can still get some value on the marketing side. And also Apple Search Ads is a, you know, interesting for you to focus on the organic side. And while we were talking about the market side, you know, the costs are really increasing, and, you know, hybrid is a really popular option for the developers. And when it comes to hybrid, I think ASO is also important. And all along with the all other channels, Apple Search Ads is really important for you to support your organic growth, or let's say increase your organic visibility in the market. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
It was really nice. Really informative. Okay, we covered a lot of topics regarding the market trends, regarding the creative, regarding campaigns. Let's talk about actually different campaigns types, about different practices.
Ivan.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, as I mentioned, we covered a lot of topics today, and that was great. Thank you very much, guys. I would like just to elaborate about some best practices for targeting right users. And maybe Yolanda can tell us a bit more about different campaign types for hybrid casual games, and what are the best practices for them.
Thank you. Yes, this works. So it seems like we are coming to the end of the panel talk. And we talk a lot about hyper versus hybrid games. And we mentioned that essentially the same players that we want to reach out to. But one important thing, actually several important things, are even if it's the same group of audience we are trying to reach, they might have different time spot or scenarios that they want to convert this time for hyper casual games versus another time for hybrid casual games. Let's say if they're on the go, or, you know, they're really just sitting down in the evening and looking for something to play with. Or, that's number one, right? How to reach them at the best timing. Number two would be how to reach them with the best platform. Let's say us, when we go to read news, we could be subscription readers of Forbes News, for example. We pay for serious news. At the same time, we want to be pushed with those entertainment news, with celebrity lifestyle stuffs when we are browsing Facebook, right? So with the same person, imagine ourselves, we are likely to be converted to clicks to the news site, different contents at different timings with different platforms. The same applies to gamers. So that's number two, what kind of platforms? Number three would be what kind of creators. We covered a lot about it. And to add on to that, I would say, you know, we take a step back. Yeah. So we talked a lot about how to track, what kind of campaigns, what kind of audience we could target, how we could track everybody to make sure that, okay, this person complete the download and then he did 5 times ad views, 10 times ad views, first purchase. We record every event. We can train the algorithms that they know to find similar lookalikes for us. That all works. But we all remember the time that everything was not trackable yet. So just to, you know, we talked about ATT, like it seems like the whole industry was like, oh, how can this be? How can we do it? We, you know, throughout the years, we're really used to trackable ads. And imagine in the old days, how did we market games? We work with communities. We work with offline internet cafes. We work with celebrities. We work with influencers. And just imagine any of the creators you've seen, right? Any of the creators you like to convert for a game. Imagine that was played by a mega influencer, or that was played by a celebrity. Would that make the game change? In certain cases, we see, yes, it does work. You know, just, I would say just, yeah, we are running out of time a little bit. But yes, I would just say, we do encourage and we do help our partners, to make sure that we do test on those ideas and see what is really converting, what is really working, with the ever-changing industry landscape.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it really quick. So again, I'd like to give a really brief overview of what kind of campaigns work best on hyper-casual versus hybrid casual. So hyper-casual, there's always the good old CPI campaign, which allows hyper-casual publishers to acquire installs that are really, most of the time, a low CPI. However, the main disadvantage here is that you're bidding the same amount, a fixed amount, regardless of the value of the user, you know, how much they're going to generate for you in the long term. So the best option, at least on our platform, for scaling hyper-casual games are ad ROAS campaigns. So as long as you're using our mediation tool, Max, to generate revenue, you can enter your ad ROAS goal, and the campaign is just geared towards ad revenue. That's the best option you have. For hybrid casual, on the other hand, just like there's more depth to the game in terms of the features there are, you have more options with the campaign types because you've got in-app revenue and you've got more meaningful events in the game. So just to really quickly summarize what kind of options we're looking at, you can run cost per event campaigns. These events are usually, you know, they could be level progression or subscription, or you can get as creative as you want as long as there are meaningful proxies in your app that happen within the first 7 days. Moreover, if you have a significant in-app purchase revenue, you can run cost per purchaser campaigns with us, where you bid however much a payer is worth to you in the long term. Again, in-app ROAS campaigns geared towards IAP revenue. And most recently, we've added to our stack of campaigns, total ROAS campaigns. This is ideal for the publisher out there, the hybrid casual publisher that has both in-app and ad revenue. It's great because it's geared towards the total revenue generated from both ad revenue and in-app purchases. And we've seen great success with those. And so long story short, when you have hybrid casual games, you have many more options. And the trick here is to keep a variety of campaigns that you're running, even though if we're looking at a single game. Let's say CPE performs the best, cost per event. We still strongly recommend that you run other types because, they could have better retention or they could just have better engagement. It's good to maintain multiple kinds of campaigns because each campaign attracts they target a different audience. And given that hybrid casual games appeal to more than a single audience, we find this to be very useful. So something that we strongly suggest.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, for very interesting conversation today. And yeah, let's work together to push the market forward. Thank you very much.